Hey everybody, sorry it's been a moment. I had some busy Thanksgiving plans, but we're back and we're going to take more of a look at the Aureil Stormgate Invitational #1, that tournament that got ourselves up to like $700 in prize pool, something like that. Anyways, we took a look at a very cool Infernal versus Vanguard last week between Mixu and Theory in the semifinals, and now we're taking a look at the other semifinals because I know for a matter of fact, full disclosure, I saw a little bit of the games, but this map, specifically this map here between Aureil and Snoxtar, was super cool. So we should probably introduce our players. In the upper left, in the blue, the organizer of this tournament. It's not suspicious at all that they're here, but anyways, the organizers of this tournament, they are Aureil. And in the bottom right, in the red, he's playing for Aftermath. It is Snoxtar. And by the way, I just want to point this out as kind of, I guess, proof positive of what it is that the Stormgate people are working on, what they're going to get, what they're going to get into. For whatever reason, Ruination runs so much better than other maps. I mean, it's so much smoother to just move around on. So what this means is hopefully good things for the rest of the map pool as things get developed more. By the way, if you want to learn more about how this map was developed, I did an interview with Frost Giant's very own Cult Fiction about 10 days ago, something like that, where he talked about the inspiration for Ruination and his path into making maps, his path to working at Frost Giant and some other things. So I'll put up a link there, certainly put up a link in the video, but that is very much, in my eye, worth looking at as we get our way into this map now. You know, we're 2 minutes in. Of course, this is a big map, and as Artosis did show us, potentially, maybe big maps are not as exciting as other things, but I think in this matchup in particular, map size doesn't quite matter as much. And also, it just means there can be some really cool stuff. So when we talk about Ruination, we're seeing some interesting things already. Snoxtar, of course, he's expanding, but he's also running through the middle of the map. He's got himself a couple fiends. He's got some gaunts. He's actually going to go and meat farm rush the high ground, and this is super impactful. One of the things that I've wanted to see, and you know, we haven't always seen it, but one of the things that I've really wanted to see are a centralization of creep camps. And it's not perfect on this map. You know, we do have this health camp down here, and on the north side, we got some energy camps in the corners. We got some speed camps a little bit further away. But when you look at what's in the middle, this vision camp dominates the battlefield and actually really gives you a lot of power to, well, do whatever it is that you want to do. Which, again, I think that is very cool. That means that you just controlling the map, controlling the center of the map matters quite a bit more. As we see Aureil, second arc ship going down very quickly. I don't know where okay, there's the first one. So second arc ship going down after the speed camp's been taken. Of course, more collection arrays on the way. It looks like we have four of them have been taken. So Snoxtar putting as much pressure as they can on early, but between the power banks and the Argents that are out, seems unlikely. We should point out, by the way, if things look a little bit weird on this map, first of all, it's nighttime, so things are going to look a little bit darker. But on top of that, these high ground areas, they do mess with the camera just a little bit. Frost Giant, Culp has actually mentioned in the interview I did with him that they're working on that. They don't have a solution just yet, but they are aware of the problem and they're working on it. So I don't know whether we're going to be able to see through some of these high areas or what exactly the solution is going to be, but there will be one. Make no mistake about it, we'll get there eventually. For now, though, as we take a look at things, Snoxtar, his Greater Shrine is just about done. We got a Twilight getting added in as well, and he's just trying to take advantage of early game harassment opportunities. So he's going to be able to get the speed camp, or excuse me, the health camp. Couple gaunts plus action do more than enough. Is not sure what this gaunt is doing here. Oh, that's what it is. Trying to kill the prisms, and well, high ground means that the prism is pretty fine. Gaunts are going to have to run away, but as the fiends spawn, that's going to be totally fine. So the health camp's going to get taken. No Gaunt survive. Hexen just teleports right back home as we got Spriggans on the map eventually. Right, so this was not the double spire into Shadow Cleft, right? That just getting 6 of them out as quickly as possible. Instead, this is much more of a slightly more optimal timing on the Spriggans, but you get less of them, right? So if you go and you build double spire and then go cleft, you have really 4 to 6 charges, depending on how fast you are. You got 4 to 6 charges ready to go as the Shadow Cleft completes. Instead, by getting the second spire, you have just a little less. You have maybe 3 or 4 Spriggans rather than 5 or 6 Spriggans ready to go. It just slows you down a little bit, but the timing is better. So if you had gone double spire Shadow Cleft, you would have less. Your Spriggans would be later, but you would have more of them. Kind of a wash here. And given the fact that this is a very large map, it's going to be fine. So we got 3 Spriggans on the map right now, couple Gaunts. And what exactly is... Okay, it's going to be Vectors popping out from Aureil in this early game. And notice, by the way, with this, with the double arc ship, Aureil is able to go and make a lot of prisons, which does speed up your economy quite a bit. It's actually something that I think has been lacking, or I would like to see changed. I think a better way to say that, something I think I would like to see changed when we look at how things are going. Because I think prisms should not be able to just mine on their lonesome. They should have, well, first of all, I think more economy should be backlogged on the prisms. So say, prisms by themselves mine X if they're just returning back to an arc ship, because I don't think they should just be able to sit on a Illuminite mine and do nothing. But if they're just going back to an arc ship, say they mine 50 minerals, 50 Illuminite a cycle, sure, so some number. If they're doing that with a collection array, they should be mining 1.5 times that. It really should be heavily incentivized to mine with arrays and prisms, while still enabling the more flexible economy if you really want to go for that. So anyway, that's my thought on this. As for now, we're going to see a bunch of Spriggans get on top of the collection array. And, well, it does, of course, have a Sovereign's Watch, and that's going to be annoying. But one Spriggan's going to go down for the cost of, well, an entire collection array. And you're not upset about that one. You're really not, as a prism's going to pop up from the Purifier. That's going to get taken down as well. So nice little harass early on. And, well, the Spriggans, they should just be able to run away. There's a decent amount of high ground space, and even though Cabals are on the field, it is likely going to be fine. You actually got to be really careful that the Sabers don't go and don't get jumped on top of. And so Spriggans are going to sit here a little bit more. Couple Spriggans are going to get shut to the ground, but I think it's a balance of things. Losing, 3 Spriggans, more or less? Losing 3 Spriggans for the cost of 2 collection arrays and a Therium Purifier. You are very happy with that one. That is absolutely very much an acceptable trade for Snoxtar, as behind this, he's got his 3rd base up and running. He's got the Ritual Chamber done. So these Gaunts, I assume, wherever the Gaunts are. Yeah, well, actually, they're not fast just yet, but they do have Plague Axes, and that will matter as this game just goes a little bit later. But for now, it's Kree, it's Cabals, it's Argents, it's a couple Savers, as, well, the goal now is take the middle of the map here. Having this number of siege units really does matter when you're talking about high ground vision, when you're talking about how you're going to be able to go and interact with your opponent. You have to point out that, yeah, there is some long distance mining on these Therium camps. That is a lot of Spriggans, and that is not really going to be a solution. So we're turning into like a pseudo base trade here, as the Cabals are ready to go. The Lashes are not really there just yet. Remember, they were nerfed pretty heavily. Cabal's just trying to get the damage done, but no Animancers, so they're not going to be able to go and just remove the energy. Even still, Weavers are getting taken down here. We got more energy coming out of the Cabals. They're going to get more shutdowns available, and these Sabers are just absolutely going to town. Yes, there are Weavers, and yes, they can mass lash, and that is a beautiful thing, I'm sure. But they only have they only have 2/3 the HP they used to. And yeah, you know what? Sure, you lash them. You got to do more than that. So this army coming out of Aureil doing more than enough. Now, that being said, the Spriggans are forced home. And as the Spriggans are forced home here, not a lot of anti-air in this army. The Sabers are going to get shut down. Yes, we do have some Cabals, and yes, they are slowly but steadily putting these putting the Spriggans on the ground, doing some level of anti-air. And eventually, we do have this, right? Some of the Sabers are still here. They're all going to get taken down, but I think most of the Spriggans die as well. And this is going to be more than just really mostly a wash. More Kree are getting added in, but the problem are these Spriggans. The problem are these units that don't have a lot of anti-air, especially as more Weavers pop out, so you can go and lash the Cabals, and they're worth a lot of value, and Kree are getting taken out. So this setup that looked really good, it probably was fairly good, all things considered. Lacking anti-air, and lacking anti-air on the rally just meant that the Spriggans ran in. Most of them died, but that's okay, as this is a flying Weaver right here. That's fun. Gravity flux done up, on down, all everywhere where you want to go. But the Cabal are dead. The Starforges, well, they have been producing the Scythe, well, not the Scythes, excuse me. They're producing the Sabers well enough, but there's none really on the map right now. And I don't see anything else. I don't see any sort of Scythes on the way, nothing like that. No anti-air available. It's just gonna be reliant on this single Argent. That's the only anti-air that's there. And remember, this base is back alive. That's fine. This base is not back here. So one Therium refinery done. One collection array not there, not really able to fight. The economy of Aureil's not where you would like it to be, and the economy of Snoxtar is fantastic. We should point that out, as the Kree are gonna get on top of things. But again, it's not about the Kree. It really isn't about the Kree. It's not. Okay, come on, you gotta kill the Weaver there. It's worth something, but it's not about the Kree. It's not about the Sabers at this point. It's about the large, heavy amounts of these Spriggans that really do have no answer. There is no anti-air here. We have no link nodes, no strike nodes. Very, very few Argents. And yeah, you can build 4 Sabers all at the time, all that you want. But if they're just getting taken down, it doesn't really matter. It does not matter at all. So now the Spriggans, they're gonna go and they're gonna find themselves this collection array. That's fun. As this Therium mine, by the way, very low. It's about to run out of money. The prisms are about to go kill it all off, and it looks like we do have Sovereign's Fury now, so that is something, and that will do a little bit better job of forcing these things back. But again, the problem is the anti-air, and it seems like vectors are going to be the answer, not scythes, nothing like that. And remember, scythes were changed in the most recent balance patch. Not sure what that Morph Core was supposed to do. Maybe it was supposed to be Illuminite Mine, but didn't really happen. Remember, vectors were changed in the most recent balance, or excuse me, scythes were changed in the most recent balance patch, where instead of being this kind of overall anti-heavy unit, they have instead gone, and now they are this very much specifically anti-air unit. They do more damage when they're close to air. They do far more damage to air than the ground, but they also don't have that, what is it? What was it? A 90% damage reduction? 75% damage reduction? Massive damage reduction that we were talking about. That was very much a thing a bit ago. So we don't have those, certainly not. And I'm surprised we're not getting them added in, though. You do feel like, well, scythes are light units. They do rather good against air, and Spriggans don't kill them all that quickly. You would have thought that would have been a very good thing, but you know, apparently not. As this Therium camp just about out of money, there's like 2 patches remaining. This camp is dead, or this patch is just about dead. So not a lot of Therium income right now. And this army, we talk ad nauseum about how infernal armies are very Therium dependent. They are extremely reliant on being able to mine as much Therium as possible. But in this game, not really there. You know, they're not allowed to do that. They don't have, well, no, that's not even true. What I'm trying to say is the Celestial is very much Therium dependent this game as well. They are, I mean, look at this. It's Vector Cabal Saber. That is a lot of Therium, as we're going to see for right now. Looking for some shutdowns maybe. As sides, they're going to take things down at the start. That is their job. That is the Vector's job, to take these Spriggans down. Lashes go down, Shroud fall on top of everything, but the first layer of Weavers is dead. And certainly Sabers are better than Hellborn. That is beyond repute. The damage is just not even close. 90 versus 50. So they're going to move in. The Cabals are going to shut down these Spriggans, so they jump up forward. And now here come the Vectors moving forward. 9 damage by 3. They no longer have preferential damage versus light units. They just do 18 or 27 damage per volley. It means they can get a lot done. So now, on the high ground here, no spellcasters, nothing to really force these Sabers out of position. And as long as these Spriggans die, which is actually, you know what, rather complicated of a task, all the Vectors are dead. as long as the Spriggans die, it's a reasonable shot. So now the scan's going to go down, hitting that speed button from Aureil and trying to get on top of more of these very, although not quite as expensive, these very expensive units. These extremely Therium expensive units. I mean, 200 versus 250, but it's still 200. Problem now, on top of everything else, even multiple times now, we've had these games where Aureil has looked like they are pushing through, or they have what they need, but every single time the tech swap coming out of Snoxtar is just, it's enough. Honestly, it is more than enough. This time it's the dragon. Plague Breath, what is it? 90 flat damage, 140 versus structures, and just double fiends. This is the problem. This entire game has been a lack of anti-air, and you add the dragon on top of it, it really does become that much more difficult. Technically, Cabals can slap. Well, actually, I'm not sure if Gravity Flex applies to resilient units. I'm not actually totally sure on that one. That's an interesting question. But for now, middle of the map has been taken over by Snoxtar once again. He's got every base that he could possibly want. He's on 5 bases, and yeah, the main base is going to mine out soon, but it's not mined out yet. Well, excuse me, the main base is going to mine out soon, but it's only the Therium that is mined out at the moment. We're going to see Inhale Poison, so you can go and make the dragon that much tankier. And realistically, okay, so we do have good. Therium Purifier is done. Snoxtar desperately trying to get as much Therium as possible out of this thing. You only mine efficiently with 4 prisms, but he's just got 5 on there, and the goal here is, again, just to get as much as possible. Aureil also seems like surging a lot of stuff, so we really are lacking power for the most part. That's not great. And because we're lacking power, this Spriggan hit squad onto the northeastern corner, there are no strike nodes. Well, in this case, there are no strike nodes. So, nothing to defend this. There's not enough power for Sovereign's Watch. There's nothing there, so the collection rate is just gonna go down. The Therium Purifier is not gonna be able to purify. It's not gonna be able to watch because there's no collection array there. Some of these prisms may escape because they do speed up fairly quickly, all things considered, and you know, Spriggans don't do bonus damage to heavy. And there we go. Now the Sovereign's Watch is gonna get hit, but the prisms are dead anyways for the most part, and this is not a spot that Aureil really wants to defend. That's the long and short of it. This is very far away from where the rest of the army is. So yeah, okay. Northwestern corner is going to get taken down, and that forces Aureil's army up to the northwestern corner, which means that the the southwestern corner is rather untouched. Not really going to be defended all that well, and that's going to be another base that will fall down. So Aureil has lost 2 bases in the span of 30 seconds. They've lost everything. They really only have, I'm not even sure if this base, no, it's still there. Yeah, so money, there's still some Luminite income, but just not a lot of Therium whatsoever, and that is the problem. 353 is all that Aureil's going to have for quite a while, so it's going to have to try to take the fight right now, and we're going to see everything get dropped here. Effigy on the ground, and that's not getting taken down. Infeston thing, lashes are going to go forward. Now, the dragon is taking some level of damage, but it's not getting taken down, not just yet, and there's just Molten Touch coming out of Hellborn, doing way more than enough. So this army of Aureil is just melting. Not really a lot there whatsoever. I mean, you got the Sabers, and they do a lot of damage. They do a ton of splash damage, but Aureil is dead. And Snoxtar is going to take map number 1. So now we move into game number 2. And it's going to be another big map, right? Isle of Dread is a big map, and it gives us these great, big, expansive macro games. And you know, we keep talking about it because, well, it is relevant and also, you know, it matters a little bit. But you know, we talk a lot about small maps and big maps and where should things go. And I know there was that one guy in YouTube who always gets mad at me for talking about balance and talking about map design. He's like, just talk about the game. Balance and map design is talking about the game. You cannot separate map design from balance. You cannot separate balance from the game itself. That is, and you cannot separate any of those things from how the game is designed. These are just all, they're all part and parcel of the same thing. There's no escaping it. So for now, this is going to be Isle of Dread. This is a big map. This is something that theoretically does favor our Infernal player because, well, First of all, they can go in and drop one shrine mined from 2 bases. And, you know, it takes a while to go and properly mine everything out, but even still, you know, good enough. And on top of that, well, Celestials, they do struggle on the macro game a little bit right now. It depends on who you talk to. Nina plays, for example, some very solid macro play, but it does feel like, as we saw from Aureil in game number 1, it does feel sometimes like this whole, sometimes Celestial players struggle with the tech swaps. So we saw Spriggan, the Spriggans popping out and just not having a good solution to that. Sometimes it feels like once the dragon is out, once the Flayed Dragon's out, which, you know, it takes a while, you got to get 150 Animus and tier 3, and it's north of like 1500 Illuminite, 1500 Therium all told when we're talking about the cost to get the Greater Shrine and the Spire and then and tier 3 and then the Dragon out. Like, it is expensive. And of course you can't just rush it because you got to have other things as well. You got to have an army and you got to have map control and you got to... Anyways, it's not the fastest tech to come out. Certainly not. But it does feel like once that dragon is out, there can be some struggles. For lack of a better term, there can be things where it's just not as easy for the Celestial player as they would like it to be. But for now, we're going to have another macro game. Another arc ship's going to go down. We got 2 on the map here. I'm not exactly sure where the third one... Okay, yeah. Went back to the Therium camp so you can start to mine off of that one. So, second ARP ship's going to be done. We're going to build things out of that. I'm not... Probably just a bunch of prisms. That likely going to be the play. And we're just going to have a great big macro game for collection arrays on the map. Very early. And of course, yes, there are going to be creation chambers. Yes, there's going to be more tech. It looks like it's likely going to be a Kree opening. Yes, you get some margins out of the stop, but getting a Guardian Nexus this early does telegraph some Kree play most likely. We're going to have to see, but that is most likely the play. I got to say, though, I'm a little surprised to see double arc ship, which is a non-insignificant cost, right? It does cost money to go for that. And to see us going for this double, or to see going for the double arc ship play and not, there we go. I was gonna say not building anything out of it, because you don't get any value from getting a second arc ship just to exist. All right. It's not like building another shrine and that gives you more mining, and that's important. You know, you have collection arrays, you have Therium refineries. You don't need a second arc ship. You don't need a second arc ship for that. But you do need a second arc ship if you want to double up on your, say, Therium income like this. You do need a second arc ship if you want to go and double up and build more morph cores, things like that. So it seems like that's going to be the play for now. We're going to get another prism out and, well, going up to tier 2 rather quickly. And I said, hey, I think this is going to be Kree, and it'll be, okay, it will be. There we go. I was like, I think this will be Kree, and roll up. Okay, now it's just about done. We're going to see the vision camp get taken down. So there is some slow creeping. Eventually, this health camp, sure, was taken by Snoxtar, but Aureil is going to be able to claim it back, right? You got a lot of Kree. Argents can fit through the gaps in a way that Brutes can. You're going to be fine. So the health camps have been taken. Vision camps have been taken. And the early game creepy for the most... creepy. The early game creeping for the most part is done. So we should now exactly figure out where exactly it is these two players. Take stock of where these players are. And it's going to be Spriggans once again coming on out of Snoxtar. He's got that Shadow Cleft. Second Twilight Spire just about done. Ritual Chamber getting added in. No Elder, not just yet. And it seems like Snoxtar wants to play this game of just enough early game. Just enough bruiser, or not enough bruiser, just enough gaunts, just enough brutes, just enough stuff to give yourself some map control, to have stuff on the map. And interestingly, not taking the Luminite camp so he doesn't go get contested by it. Maybe this was just a mistake, but I choose to believe it's because he's like, okay, well, if I take the Luminite camp, you know I've taken it. And maybe that's something that, you know, I'm going to be forced into a fight I don't want when I'm not ready. So instead, I'm going to take a second. Although that appears to have just really just been a mistake more than anything else. But now, okay. Twilight Spires are done. Spriggans are on the way. Snoxtar was briefly supply blocked, so Spriggans not popping out quite as quickly as he would like. But now we got this army. Plague Axe is not just done, but they are going to be on the way eventually. He does have the money for it, but not the time. Not just yet. Is behind this. Do we have... Okay, there's a Legion Hall getting added in. This could be for a couple things. Could be for tier 3. That is absolutely true. You know, could be for, yep, there we go, Arc Fortress on the way. I was gonna say also can be for Animancers, can be for this ability to just really find you know, Dark Prophecy down everything, right? Drop the black hole and go from there. But for right now, also for Cabals are, I mean, we've seen them be very effective against these air flux. Just gravity fluxing everything down is a pretty cool idea. So we're gonna have to see just how well this is gonna work out. And for now, yes, there will be an infest going down, dropping everything, but you can purify through, and that's gonna be fine. And oh, these Kree, they're gonna blow everything up. You can't fight Kree's guts. That is just the long and short of it. The Kree, they get the full surround, one big AoE splash, and everything is just gonna fall right on down. And now there we go. Gravity fluxes on top of things, which means that these Spriggans are, yeah, they're not gonna fight all that well. And hey, guess what? The Magmadon doesn't get to fight either. Spriggans on the ground, Magmadon in the air. Wonderful views, wonderful ideas, and eventually this Magmadon is gonna get taken down. It's not there just yet, you know, it's lifted. And there's not a ton of HP on it, or there's not a ton of damage that it's going to take, but even still, eventually, it's going to get taken down. The gravity flux is doing enough here, and we're not at a point right now where Snoxtar has properly the money to deal with this. Magmadons are expensive, and he's at 120 Luminite. That is just not really going to be enough, so more Spriggans are going to get locked down, and this Cabal timing we looked for that we didn't find in game number 1 is very much here. It is present, oh so very present in the second game. And yeah, eventually you lift everything up, you kill them while on there on the ground, you drop them to the ground if they're in the air, and the power of these Cabals absolutely doing everything. And you notice, because Purify is on the table, our Aureil needs a little bit more time and doesn't really seem to have the cooldown or the power for it at the moment, but when you have this Purify on the table, this number of Cabals is more than enough to just shut everything down. More Spriggans are going to pop up. There is power Snoxtar, or there's Animus Snoxtar can go and maybe get a couple more. But as it stands right now, this third base is totally broken. And if the third base is broken, Snoxtar is going to be broken in this game. He does not have the money whatsoever. There's no Elder Shrine, and he wouldn't have the Therium for it anyways. Nothing to really help him there. Kree, as they run around, they're doing stuff. Yes, Cabals, they want to stay happy, they want to stay healthy, and we see how little damage these Cabals are doing. What is it? 7 damage. 7 damage is really not a lot, but eventually it's going to go through. Meanwhile, the main base is dead, so Snoxtar is extremely dead in this game, and there's really not a whole lot he can do to stop it. You know, the Magmadons will eventually take these things down, even if they're not light units. Yeah, well, eventually, I say that, but you can just lift them up in the air. These powerful gravity mages, or whatever they are, I don't know the lore, but whatever they are, they're doing a great job. And Spriggans up in the sky, down into the ground. Magmadon is just, yep, it has a stun. It's still dead. Purify is still there. The units will still die. And Snoxtar, 100 supply to 32 is, 32 supply to 100 is extremely dead. Extraordinarily dead. In fact, if Darwin was, if Darwin found him, he would classify him as a dodo. It is exactly what is happening right now. The main base is going to fall down. Of course, you don't lose the top bar abilities once the tech has been unlocked. So he can still manifest a Shroud Stone. He can still do all of these things. But as it stands, it's still dead. The main base is going to fall down. Shroud Stone manifest is going to die quickly enough. And behind this, well, what do we got? Where is our... We do have an Arc Fortress. We can move on to the Arc Fortress rush if that is something that eventually Aureil decides that he wants to do. I mean, make no mistake about it. Aureil's dead. Or excuse me, Snoxtar's dead. He's no money. He's got no workers. He's got few bases. Another Shroud Stone's going to fall down. The Kree they're eventually going to get taken down. Oh, by the way, that's kind of cool. I don't think I've seen this upgrade get taken, but he got the tier 2 upgrade. There we go. Radiant Fury is what it's called. So we got Radiant Fury, which means that once they die, they can still move around and maybe get some better shots. This is how the Kree were originally designed back once upon a time, and then, well, they realized that maybe that ability was a wee bit too strong, don't you know? And they decided that it had to be a tier 3 upgrade instead, which I think says everything. For now, though, we're tied up at 1 apiece. Snoxtar, Aureil, 1-1. So now we get to move into game number 3 of our series. We had one game that went super late, and Snoxtar said, yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get a lot of Spriggans and I'm gonna get a dragon. And there's really not a lot you're gonna be able to do about it, Aureil. Not on Ruination, it's just too big. But then Aureil said, that's fine. I got Kree. Let's catch your gaunts in the middle of the map. Let's shut them down. Let's remove, what is that? A lot of therium from your army. And then we're going to hit this Kree Cabal timing, and your couple Spriggans, they're going to be on the ground. Your Magmadons are going to be up in the air, and you're not going to be able to fight. That sounds awesome. Which means that we're at 1 game apiece. We're on another large map. This map is not quite as big as Isle Red. It's not nearly as big as Ruination, for example. Still fairly big, though. It is also a 4-player map, and good news for Aureil. There is no insta-win here. Now, if you've talked to Aureil, or really a lot of Celestial players, but Aureil is probably the most outspoken about this idea, is that this map, or Lost Hope, if there are certain spawns, Aureil feels that the Celestial player just loses. So, for example, if the Infernal spawned here, there we go, let's click on the main base. If the Infernal spawned here and Aureil spawned as they did, they have access to the speed camp, and that is just how things will go. There we go. All right, that's just how things are going to go. So, luckily for Aureil, it's going to be cross spawn, right? It is probably the most fair version of this map. And I know there's been a lot of discourse, right, about 4-player maps, and are they good for the game? Are they fun? Should they even exist? I tend to fall in the camp of 4-player maps are really cool, because fundamentally they are 3 maps in 1. They significantly expand the map pool, and also they enable certain strategies that may not otherwise be a thing. Okay, I just realized that we restarted Stormgate, so there we go. Now towns are going to be a little bit better balanced. Anyways, they go and they enable things that might not otherwise exist. They enable maybe some greedier strategies. They enable some more double blind stuff. Maru back in the day told us that, yeah, if you proxy in the middle, you got a really good shot at potentially doing something really interesting, because you're still closer to your opponent's base wherever it is. Like, he showed us that proxies are actually viable, which is not something that we saw for, first couple of years of StarCraft 2, at least first couple of years of that history. It's like, yeah, you don't proxy on big maps, you don't proxy on Lost Hope, or not Lost Hope, but you don't proxy on 3 and 4-player maps, because the likelihood that something happens is just a little bit, likelihood that something goes wrong is just a little bit too high. So for right now, well, map's going down for map control is going for Snoxtar. He's gone and taken a good amount of the light camps. He's gonna have the camp in the center, right? He meat farmed that rush just a little bit earlier. And behind this, because he did delay his natural just a little bit, because again, it is worth delaying your natural on Lost Hope because there are so many light camps. He's gonna double expand behind that. So natural a little slower than it might otherwise be, but third base going down way faster, much faster than it might otherwise generally do, which means that, hey, all right, we're in this scenario right now where the gaunts are on the map. Aureil does have to play at home. They do have their really 4 bases, because while this is not technically part of their setup, there's a high ground and there's all this other stuff. Not to worry, infernal units fly, infernal buildings fly. It's okay. And actually, we could see this 6th base get taken relatively easily. Yeah, you are vulnerable to the trees getting taken down and a run by through there, but otherwise, it's gonna be fine. So for right now, this is a 4 collection array Aureil. They're eventually gonna get Kree on the map. We saw how effective catching the gaunts with the Kree was on Isle Red. Unfortunately, this map is a lot more wide open than Isle Red was. This map is much more of a there are not as many walls that you can just try to pin your opponent into. Getting a full surround requires a little bit more effort, so I don't know how likely it is that is going to happen, but we're just getting ready for our Kree Cabal timing is what seems to be the way that Aureil likes to play this. So you got Argents, of course, that allows you creeping. They were changed, so while they don't do nearly as much sustained damage in fights, what they do is they They do bonus damage to heavy. That's always going to be very, very nice. But also, they go and they regenerate energy a little bit faster out of combat. So they are better for creeping, even if they're not quite as good in a straight-up fight. But again, you get a couple Argents. They come out relatively quickly. You get at least the Luminite camp. And then you're going to have a lot of cream and maybe a lot of Cabals. So they're on the way right now. We got at least the first one getting added in. Are we only on 3-chamber? Yeah, looks like we're on 3-chamber right now. So not quite the heaviest level of production that we could ever see. But, you know, look, you're on 4 collection array. You got Kree. Cabals are getting added in. Do we have any upgrades? Not quite. No Cabal Mastery just yet. So it really just will be for the mass control that a Cabal provides. The ability to shut down potential Spriggans as they arrive. And, well, we got a Shadowclef done. So that tells us we have 1 Twilight Spire now. I don't know if there are any more. Eventually, I would assume we'd get a second. It seems like Spriggan are just way too good in the way this game goes. Just the way we've seen Aureil choosing to play. Adding a bunch of Spriggans into this just feels really strong. So for now, this 4th base is going to get found out. It can get surged, so realistically, it should be fine. It is just going to be that single fiend as this Arc Fortress. No upgrade yet on the Arc Fortress, by the way. No, where's the Therium Refinery? Yeah, not Celestial Hyperdrive, not just done. It'll be ready soon, but we got this. We got the Jesus House on the way, and this is a nice position to try to attack through. Not only can you put link nodes on the low ground that turn into blast nodes that I believe hit the high ground, there's just not a lot of good positioning that allows to really do damage to this Arc Fortress, which means this might be a dead base fairly quickly. We do have a Shroud Stone on the way, but it is not here yet whatsoever. So Arc Fortress on the way. Now it's got Celestial Hyperdrive. It's also surged, so it is a surprisingly fast Jesus House, all things considered. And in the meantime, Aureil moving on the middle of the map, got some Krieg, got a ton of Cabals. And the goal with this fight is to distract a Snoxtar so he's not paying attention, and then get that base snipe. That's the ideal, and if you get more, awesome. But it is all about getting that 4th base down while you put pressure in the middle. So here comes the Arc Fortress. There's not a lot here. Aureil being a little bit reticent at the moment, though. Not quite prepping for this just yet, which is a little surprising to me. I thought this would get just set up more, but right now, Arc Fortress just sitting there and waiting and wandering and ideally getting eyes on where exactly the army of Snoxtar is. So for now, eventually he's going to know that these health camps going to get taken, and there we go. Power bank's going to go down. Of course, this is a shrine. I want to say it's 1,000 HP on the Fate Ender Beam, so it doesn't. No, sorry, it's 1,500. So the base dies. And certainly now, of course, there are more power banks here as well, so it can get all the power back up to go do it again. Although, you add some Spriggans on top of this, and this does sometimes turn into a one-way trip, but that's fine because there's an attack at the front at the same time, and Kree are getting right on top of these gods. Now, they can't get on top of the Hellborn just yet, and really, it's the job of the Cabals to get on top of the Hellborn, to just lift them into the sky, to not allow them to fight. But for right now, the first line of Gaunts has been mostly dealt with. We got Purify going down, some more damage being done there, and meanwhile, main base taking damage. Yes, there are a couple Spriggans here, so it looks like it probably will not go down. And actually, the front line as well, Aureil is going to get rebuffed. So the Jesus House, the Arc Fortress, will fall down. Yeah, it's dead. That's a lot of money. It gets one base. But remember, an Elder Shrine, 3,500 HP. So that means that it's not one Fate Ender Beam. It's not two Fate Ender Beams even. It's 3 that you need to kill the Elder Shrine. And I just don't think that's worth it. I understand the idea, but I don't think you're ever going to be able to get 3 beams out of an Arc Station, out of an Arc Fortress. That doesn't seem incredibly viable for me. So for now, we got this one Arc ship turning into an Arc Station. Second Arc ship on the way. Damage was, of course, done. The economy was hindered. But, and maybe something changes here, and I'm not quite able to, Cabal's not quite fast enough. But unless something changes, there we go. Okay. I was going to say, Sovereign's Fury is not done yet, but it is on the way. Sovereign's Fury, of course. Sovereign's Watch, it's okay. Doesn't really kill these Spriggans, 200 HP almost. Doesn't really kill them all that quickly. So, but you really do want Sovereign's Fury. That actually does make a significant difference, right? It's I forget what the numbers are, but it means it lasts. The damage ramps up very quickly. So for now, it's going to be one Spriggan dead, and now the Therium Purifier is going to fall down. I don't think that's the end of the world. If certainly you can build some prisms to mine off of that, but also we're at the point in the game where Aureil can afford another collection array. Ideally, you're not, but it's manageable. Is really the long and short of it. So for right now, more Starforges on. So we're going to see eventually Sabers get added into this, maybe some Vectors as well. That is a lot of Starforges. Who knows? This may be for Scythes. We do have the Ascension Matrix coming down, and that is theoretically, Scythes are rather good against all the Spriggans. Now, I've talked to Aureil, and he says, no, not really. Spriggans beat. One-on-one, Spriggans do beat Scythes. Now, I think it may change in bigger numbers. I don't know. But Aureil is not the biggest fan of them. But yeah, this Ascension Matrix in there, and that's what you need for the new Scythe upgrade, which I'm forgetting the name of at the moment. But that is what you need for that upgrade. So we're going to have to see. Nope, just going to be Sabers. Just going to be Sabers. And Aureil, one thing they do, which I think always surprises me, that they do this 4 array setup very early, is there's not a lot of Therium left on the map anymore, guys. At least not in the main base. We're going to have to see some motion forward. But one thing that always surprises me a little bit is that Aureil doesn't really seem to retake their collection arrays. Once they're down, they're like, it's not worth it. Spriggans are on the map. I'm just going to lose things. Sure. But it does also surprise me, and I know some of the static defense has been nerfed, but it does surprise me a little bit that we don't tend to see that. That we don't tend to see another collection array get taken. Although eventually it looks like this one's going to get taken right here, and that's something. Unfortunately, Spriggans are going to find it. Luckily, Spriggans are going to find the Morph Core before it turns into an array, so you really only lose the Morph Core money, not really anything else. Turning into a creation chamber. Okay, this is actually kind of cool. Yeah, we'll get up. You make this prime, you pump out like 7 Argents, and maybe that's worth doing. I don't know, but as it stands, just a bit of a waste. Unfortunately, that feels like a bit of a panic move. He was trying to go in and make something happen, but just a little bit too slow. Maybe you're like, you know what I can do? I can keep him here longer, and then maybe I can go punish. Maybe that is the play. I don't know. As it stands, though, this army of Snoxtar is terrifying. I mean, we're looking at 4 Hellborn. They got Molten Touch, a ton. An absolute, like a ton of Gaunts, a couple of Spriggans on top. And this army, it's got a, look, okay, here's what we're looking at. That is a lot of Sabers out of Aureil. And I don't see any Weavers just yet. Remember, Sabers are just better Hellborn, or they are better than Hellborn in the context of this game. Yes, they can shoot up. That's awesome. Yes, they do bonus damage to structures. Fantastic. But they lose the straight up artillery duel. That's how this works. So the Sabers are going to fight, but they're not in the best spot for right now. And really, all the Kree are going to go down before things properly get started. And we're going to start to see them explode. Certainly, yes, a lot of the Fiends, they're going to get taken out fairly quickly. We got Cabals here. Purifies getting added in as well. So Molten Touch isn't really going to do a ton. But we really need to see these Sabers target fire. And now they should be able to do some fun stuff. Get on top of things. A couple of these are going to get lifted. And there we go. Runs right on forward. Takes advantage of the upgrade, takes advantage of core ascendancy, so they run right on forward, taking everything down from the ground. But the problem is the dragon's out now, and this is how Snoxtar has won his games. It hasn't been about the battle. Sure, battles are great, but it really, more than anything else, as the game's going to be over, Aureil's going to tap out. It's about forcing units out, taking out, say, the anti-air in the games that he's won, and then sweeping in with the dragon, then sweeping in with more air, and just punishing what it is that Aureil has. But for now, Snoxtar is up 2-1. And from the big maps, we now go small. Titan's Causeway is not the biggest map. It's not the smallest map in this map pool, because Broken Crown Light absolutely exists. And, if we're lucky, we're going to see more. If we're lucky, we're going to actually get into the... we're going to see it. Right, if we get that far into the series, we are guaranteed at least 5 games. maybe even if 6 if we're so lucky, maybe 7 if we are really lucky. But for right now, what this will mean is that Aureil, this macro play they've been going for, not going to be super viable. Going for a second arc ship early, probably not going to be the play. Now, whatever else they do, I don't know, and this could just be probably not an Argent Rush. It was nerfed pretty well, all things considered. That was nerfed fairly well in 0.1 point, what are we on, 0.1.3. Yeah, 0.1.3, that was nerfed pretty heavily. I think it had to. It was just, it's one of those things where you had to take some power out of Celestial early game because it was just those builds were way too strong. And is there a world where too much power has been, not enough power has been given back to the late game? Maybe. I'm not sure just yet, but what I can tell you is that's a lot of morph cores running across the map here, and I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of a spoiler. They're not to go take these Luminite mines, at least not quite yet. They are running over. They're gonna turn into some creation chambers. Maybe one of them. Wait. I said that, but this is enough morph cores right now that not a lot of money is saved up, and more importantly, he's just building more. This is not gonna be for some level of a I don't know what you want to call it. This is not going to be for some level of just building a lot of collection arrays or creation chambers and getting aggressive. I think we're going to see Aureil run into the main base with, well, against nothing, with like 27,000 morph cores, and just try to kill everything with his opponent on the other side of the map. And that's pretty fun. I loved, yeah, Gaunts are not home for this. Gaunts are not ready. This is, Aureil is a bit famous in the Stormgate community for doing weird things, for playing builds that are maybe a little bit less standard, or in this case, not standard at all, but for looking for some angles, looking for some opportunities, and just, well, doing insane things, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. Certainly, of course, the Therium gets targeted down first because you really want to minimize the ability to go and build any sort of Gaunt. So the economy's dead. Sure, Aureil's gonna go and they're gonna lose their main base, and that is unfortunate. In fact, we got to take a look at structures right now. Actually, I think the arc ship just counts as a structure. So in the context of a base trade, you got to kill the arc ship to make things happen. And, well, building enough Gaunts to make that happen is not the easiest thing, because there's no Therium income at the moment. I mean, I guess you can go and take this Bruiser, but you'll probably lose more than you'll get. So this is pretty funny. Now, Aureil doesn't have, it has money, does not have a collection array. I don't believe has a prism either, so there's not really any income for Aureil right now. But of course, we got to point this out. Not really a lot of income for Snoxtar as well. When they try to go kill this Redstone, they're not going to be able to do so. And okay, something just got built. Money just got spent. Did he build a collection array somewhere? What am I? Oh, you know, never mind. There's the I'm just blind. The collection rate is going to go down, so the money is there. And slowly, and I mean ever so slowly, this base will fall. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to be pretty. But eventually, this base is going to fall down. The question, though, is exactly how does Snoxtar decide to come back up with this? He's got, what? Where are the imps? He's got some of them. There they are. So he's got 5 imps. He's going to try to take the double Luminite base, I think, which is reasonable. You know, eventually you're going to be able to get a lot of money. Now, granted, you're playing on the low ground. Your opponent can post up on the high ground. It's not the easiest thing, but oh man. So 2 damage on the resonance cannon, 6 damage if you go 8 damage if you attack light units. So it's great against well, reasonable against Gaunts. It's great against imps. What it got, you know, imps have 100 HP. We have a lot of morph cores. 8 damage times 1, 2, 3, 6 is 40. What's that? 48 damage. It was 54 damage. It was yeah, 54 damage with all the morph cores. So you were 2-shotting them. You're 2-shotting the Gaunts as well. You know, they also have 100 HP. This game is granted. So right, 54 damage a shot with all the morph cores. As you kill the Conclave, well, that's only about 20 damage a shot. Now, that being said, we do have collection array, or we do have the collection array done, which means that you do have this ability for Sovereign's Watch. Unfortunately, it targets what it targets, and it doesn't detarget. So yes, it will kill the shrine eventually, but it's not killing the units, and that is just a wee bit unfortunate. Also, well, actually, there's not enough Therium for this, so Snoxtar was not able to get Plague Axes in time, even if the Chamber survived for quite a while. But I gotta feel like this is eventually is a victory for Snoxtar. I mean, yes, for right now, sure. But Snoxtar's gonna eventually start to mine more, and more importantly, his army is just so much better. And we know that the Collection Array, well, more importantly, the Sovereign's Watch cooldowns, they're done. Yeah, they last a while, but minus 11 energy, right? You can't cast any more top bar abilities. And this income is just going to fall down. There's not enough Morph Cores for this whatsoever. Certainly, yeah, no Plague Axes, but even still, bonus damage versus light splash damage, the Morph Cores, they're going to fall down. And there's nothing that kills these Gaunts. I mean, yeah, sure. What is that? 32 damage a second is cool. 32 damage a volley is cool. But it's not going to be enough. And you have the Skull of Shedda that eventually knocks things down. Aureil's kind of dead here. I understand the desire, I understand the idea, but at this point, we're at 6 imps, more are being made. You can build... Okay, you don't really care about building brutes, but there really isn't a lot that you can do. I mean, I guess you put Morph Cores out in the corners. You try to eventually retake this Collection Array. I don't know. But at this point, it does very much feel like Aureil is... okay, Prism showed up somewhere. There's that. That is something that does exist. So the Slimes now, Snoxtar is just going to consolidate the victory at this point. You know, there's not really a lot. Yeah, Prism's going to get found out as well. It is a light unit. It's not going to be allowed to mine. Yes, it accelerates, so technically the Gaunts are not going to be able to go and chase it down. Only 2 Gaunts don't kill it in time. But even still, no mining here whatsoever. Yeah, okay, no, a Collection Array was made. There's that. The other one's going to get retaken to the main base. So Aureil is trying. I would give them that. Aureil is trying to find some way to play into this game. And oh, by the way, somehow Morph Core is on the other side of the map. You're building double creation chambers, and there's a 3rd Illuminite mine, a 3rd collection chamber on the way. So, you know, maybe... Wait, was this... No, this is... Yeah, okay. I was... Wait, did this hide in a corner? I thought it just died. Anyways. There does need to be some sort of Sovereign Watch here to deal with this singular fiend, and well, it's not being spent just yet. Not a lot of power available for Aureil at the moment. More fiends are going to arrive. Just got to lift up, and I think this, yeah, this is going to be a dead Collection Array, so that's going to be a problem. The production now is going to get taken down. Power banks are going to be removed, so you're not really going to have that that heavy amount of... You're not going to be able to cast spells anymore, so no surging the creation chambers, no Sovereign's Watch. Nothing like, oh, excuse me, nothing like that. This Collection Array is not allowed to mine. At least there's this one. Prism stuck in the corner. Yeah, Aureil is very dead. We'll tap out, and that means Snoxtar goes up 3 games to 0 in this best of 7. So now we move into game number 5 here, and this one's the rubber match, at least for Snoxtar. Aureil, they got a way to go, but it's going to be Secluded Grove. This is a map that I tend to believe is going to be something very interesting. I tend to believe that this map can be rather good for Celestials. They can take the middle of the map, they can kind of abuse that position and turn it into pushing play, but that's at my level, and that is not something that we always worry about, right? Not something that you know, well, I should say my level is not necessarily something that always matters. The highest level of play. Ooh, just realized there's a little turret here. That's fun. Now, unfortunately, this turret will not be able to defend against anything that Snoxtar would like to do. Let's see exactly how this thing goes for now. Again, it's going to be Conclave Opener. Conclave Vault, most likely. Maybe it's just a Conclave Expand? I don't know. I do feel like these early Conclave phase, sometimes, if they don't have a Vault to buttress them, can struggle. Can struggle a little bit against some Kree things. You can get run through with just having a couple Gaunts and nothing else. So we're going to have to see, but for now, it does seem to be that it's just going to be a Conclave Expand going from there. All right, that's how that's gonna go. So behind this Aureil, we're gonna see some more collection arrays. You'll know how this works. What's interesting, by the way, is they are proxying their second collection array, and also they're gonna go use it to go and take the health camp. So that shouldn't be that weird. I am marginally surprised that they haven't gone back and taken the natural, but looks like it's just gonna take a little bit longer. That's fine. Collection arrays down. Sovereign's Watch is gonna kill all but one or two of these health camps. Yep, there we go. All but one. One slime remains, but it's about the money here. It's not like you have things in the early game that you're really trying to really take, or a better way to say that. It's not like you got units in the early game that need to get healed. So the health camp is very much about the money, more so than it is really anything else. And for now, we're going to see a second arc ship on the way. Of course, we got the triple collection chamber here. Argent's getting made early on, just, again, to buttress that. But already one Sovereign's Watch has been used, and that's a decent army. So second Sovereign's Watch is going to get popped. It's going to kill off one of these guns, damaging another. Maybe damaging a third, but you know, it's eventually going to be out of range. And as we're only on like a single Argent right now, not sure why my camera went there, but as we're only on like a single Argent right now, not really a lot that you can really do to contest this. Yeah, the Sovereign's Watch is going to run out. I think there should be another one up soon. That cooldown should be ready fairly soon, but if you're really looking at just the singular creation, or the singular Argent, it's not really doing a lot. So power banks are going to go down. There should be another Sovereign Watch ready eventually. And again, we're going to be on triple chamber soon. So that this should be the end of this. You know, it gets a power bank. It takes the last slime. It goes and gets the health camp briefly. All things that are useful, that are worth doing, but not the end of the world. So for now, that's where we are. We got morph cores, and this is why I talked about this map being potentially pretty solid for Celestials. You go, and it takes a while to get ready to go defend this. Although, as I say that, already the trees have been cut down, and Imp was deputized before it went and took the meat farm in the center. Just cut down some of these trees. So this position that Celestials can sometimes tank, they got like 5 sabers right here, and there's no way to really get through the trees. You just ignore that. You avoid that. You don't have to worry about that, because Snoxtar, he's cut the trees down early. These are all rather nice things to run into. So for now, we got, again, double arc ship moving around the map, building some prisms, double theriumite. Double therium mining is always going to be a good, it's always going to be a good thing. And well, behind this, Argent are doing what they want to do. We got the Guardian Nexus just about down, so eventually we're going to have Kree upgrades. I'm assuming that's going to be the play. This is really, we've been playing Argent into Kree Cabal. That really has been the, kind of the way things go. For the long and short of it. So that just seems to be how Aureil wants to play. Although, as I say that, 4-star or 3-star Forge is on the way as well. So not only are we going to have these Kree, right? Rollout's about halfway done. We're getting onto that one. But 3 more Star Forges. And Sabers should be the name of the game here. So Kree Saber, I guess, is going to be how this one is going to get played for now, though. Also, Snoxtar, third base going to go down. And we are slowly, this has been very much a creep forward game. Don't always get that, but this has very much been a game where there's been a little harass, but mostly creep forward. As the Cabal's now getting at it in here as well, and this appears to be how Aureil thinks the game is best played. You get some Kree, they get on top of the Gaunts, they ideally cut through them. You get Cabal so they can go and deal with the tech units, they can lift them, they can drop them. They can do whatever it's needed, right? And behind that, well, Sabers are rather strong. They do, what is it, 90 damage to heavy units. They do a lot of damage. As this this 5th chamber now under a little bit of pressure, but with his army that now exists, probably not the easiest thing to put down. And again, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised that we do not see... Yes, I know they were nerfed a little bit, but I'm surprised we're not seeing some level of static defense outside of these bases. That really, maybe Aureil just doesn't feel that they can afford it. That would be a totally reasonable read. But as it stands, you know, we're kind of in this situation right now where Aureil has lost a couple of their late games pure and simply because they just do not have enough They just don't have static defense. And then the Spriggans come out as they are going to be ready to pop out right now, actually, if that's something that Snoxtar decides he wants to do. And then they just, there we go, there come the Spriggans, and then they just go and start to kill these outlying bases. Aureil never feels they can feels that they can retake them, and the game goes real rough. Now, the way that Aureil wins these is by hitting kind of on that Spriggan timing. So the Spriggans are not allowed to be on the other side of the map. They sit there and they play around, and they're forced to take a fight into a bunch of Cabals. They get slammed into the ground, and it just does not feel good at all. So for now, the attack's gonna start, right? We got these dark matter cannons, 90 damage a shot, cutting the trees down. And of course, the Wraithstone has to die. The Wraithstone has to die. All right, that's the long and short of it. Attacking into this slow zone feels nigh impossible. So now we're gonna see, yep, there we go, slammed onto the ground. Only one Spriggan in the air, only one Spriggan able to fight. And 90, or I guess 60 damage a shot, because they are light units, but 60 damage a shot with splash into these into the Spriggans when they really don't have a lot of HP. They got 200 HP, so that's something. But when you're taking 60 damage a shot times whatever, however many Argents this, or Sabers this is, they don't live. That is the long and short of it. So Kree are taking some damage, of course. They're being forced forward here, but the Cabals, they're going to try to get their raise, maybe. No, they're just going to lift. They're just going to drop the Spriggans, and certainly the Hellborn are falling down. This timing we talked about is exactly the timing that Aureil wanted to hit, and Snoxtar will die to it. Game 5 goes to Aureil. All right, so now we move into game 6. Aureil fighting desperately to go into that game number 7 to make the finals. And of course, Snoxtar sitting here one map away. It's Furious Resolve, it's vertical spawns. And Infernal players are never, or excuse me, Celestial players are never happy about this. Early aggression potentially coming out of Snoxtar, it can be a challenge to deal with. You run across, the rush distance is very short. You get on top of the collection arrays, the mining is not allowed, and then, well, life goes very, very wrong for the Celestial player very, very quickly. Which means for now, Snoxtar is going to get the scout out. It's going to see exactly what's happening. It's going to be Vault Conclave, or excuse me, Conclave Vault popping out very, very quickly. And these greedy macro double arc ship plays, I don't think there's going to be a possibility. Okay, I love that bug. For now, though, Gaunts are on the map, right? And I don't... We might pit stop. Actually, yeah, no, we will. Because the speed camp here, it's not quite Lost Hope where it's just immediately in your rally. But the speed camp here on on Furious Resolve, well, it's just right outside of the Celestial third base. It is kind of a horrible spot. This is a really bad situation to get yourself into. So for now... Yeah, sure, Gaunts are taking some damage. That's not the goal, but we got the Fiends starting to get made. There we go. Speed camps, the Shadow Mastiffs are starting to go down, and then you get a bunch of Fiends. You get yourself some Gaunts. You have yourself a Speed camp, which it really isn't even, he's not even killing it. That's fine. We're going to see Power Bank goes down. It's dead immediately. And that was the Sovereign's Watch. So now we're at -9 power. Even if you wanted to drop a second watch, you're not able to do so. And more Gaunts are going to start to just rally through. More Gaunts, more Brutes. Eventually, we're going to have 40 Animus, so you're going to be able to go and have that wonderful Shroudstone, or excuse me, Hellspawn Resurgence, so you can get even more Gaunts if that's how Snoxtar decides to play, depending on his... it doesn't have a lot of Therium income at the moment, so probably couldn't afford 6 at the moment, but this base's mining is really just going to get taken down. Yes, the Hexen will fall. That's unfortunate. And yeah, sure, the collection rate is going to get forced back, going back down again, but it's not... This is a bad game. This is a really unfortunate game for Aureil at this point. Yep, more creation chambers. Awesome. Unfortunately, there are 3 arrays that can get dealt with. And by the way, Sovereign's Watch has been used. This one is very low. It's going to have to go pick up once again. And I guess Snoxtar realizes, it probably won't go down. But what I can go do is kill this power bank. That was easy. -2 power. You're not producing things all that quickly. Yeah, production speed very slow. So these Gaunts, they continue to arrive. They continue to just do damage to shut these Morph Cores down. And they are heavy, so they don't die. But they don't die very quickly. And again, these chambers are going to get made. But income's not great. This base is floating away or dead. Looks like it was dead. And now into the main base we go. this game is over. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where offsetting builds work out very much in favor of the Infernal player. This is very much a product of where the camps are, to be honest. And this is, again, another reason why we have talking about wanting more centralized camps, not putting them kind of putting speed camps right outside of bases. So Aureil is going to lose the third base. Their natural is dead, or at least flying away, and I don't see it on the mini-map at the moment, but likely dead. And yeah, these Argents are not going to last all that long either. There's an effigy here. It's just going to give that much more healing to all of everything. And meanwhile, the main base is going to get taken down as well. Aureil is dead. Unfortunate that it ended on such a low note, but we had some very cool games all the same. And of course, if you like this and you want more Stormgate action, I'm going to do my very best to keep you all up to date, all up to speed throughout the holidays. Make sure to go sub to my channel. Go follow me on Twitch as well, because most of this goes live there as well. And I'll see you tomorrow for more Stormgate action.